Hi, I'm Kirsten Quinn, and welcome to the Philadelphia Cultural Forum on CCP TV, Community College of Philadelphia's Emmy-nominated educational channel. Tonight, we are lucky to have with us Patrick de Caumette. He is an amazing musician and artist, and I'm going to get to talk to him, and you're going to get to hear his music. He does a blend of progressive world fusion, and it's a really wonderful style. So please, join me in welcoming Patrick. How are you, Patrick?
I'm very well. Thank you so much for the wonderful introduction.
Thank you so much for being here. I wanted to talk to you a little bit before you do your concert for us about sort of how you got started in music, what some of your influences were, and how it all began. So if you can talk a little bit.
And I told you I was going to make that brief because,
you have a very long, amazing career.
Well, I also have quite a few years behind me now, so,
me too.
the more years, the more stories are behind it. But, I came from a family of known musicians, and in France, the French top 40 style was not what I was attracted to. I grew up in the 70s, so it was rock music and Santana and Led Zeppelin and Pink Floyd and the whole progressive, Genesis and Yes, King Crimson, all that stuff. So I was in love with that. But fortunately, my family moved from France. We moved to the Caribbean, which is not a bad place to be.
No,
when you're
not at all.
When you're 19. So I got also all of a sudden exposed to influences from the Caribbean, which is, the French island Guadeloupe. There's a certain style that is really typical of those French islands. But in general, it's still kind of Afro-Cuban music.
Okay.
And I also had evolved from rock to fusion, jazz rock at the time in the late 70s was pretty big. So all of this, was in my background. And then I decided to really try to be serious about it as a profession.
Yeah.
And I went to Berkeley in Boston.
Oh, the best.
In 1981, which was a great time. Miles Davis was just coming back from retirement.
Oh my God.
I met and played with a lot of outstanding players, some of them that I'm still playing with now.
Okay.
And I got an education because I was self-taught.
Yes.
So it was a kind of a jazz school.
Right.
But, a lot of theory, and I just loved it. It was fantastic for me to be in that environment. And I was a little older too, not like an American kid that out of high school goes to college. I was 22, so I had already partied and I could focus on music.
And you already knew a lot about music growing up in a musical family?
No, in a non-musical family.
Oh, a non-musical family.
Oh,
okay.
Yeah, so, no, I had definitely had to catch up, but
That's even more amazing and impressive.
I'm an obsessive guy, so when I start something, I stay with it, and so music was 12 hours a day in college, and that was my passion. I had no problem not partying and just doing music obsessively. Out of that, though, put a rock band together, did some touring on the East Coast, and was very close to get really a major deal with Atlantic Records with my wife as a singer. But then we decided to move to Paris, to France, back to France. I'd never been to Paris before, and I'm really glad I did, because it's in Paris that I was exposed to this tremendous West African scene of music.
Right.
Some of the greatest players in the world were there at the time of my generation.
Yeah.
Richard Bona, Paco Seri, Etienne Bappé, and I was playing with these guys. So I learned really a lot about music with this, tremendous African culture, which, rhythmically is just phenomenal. And at the same time, also, when you come out of college, I'm talking to some of you here. If you're in the room, I'm not sure, but making a living after college is an imperative.
Yes.
And making a living as a freelance artist, you've got to diversify as much as possible. And I was always fascinated with film.
Yeah.
Since I was a little kid. I was constantly watching movies. We had a TV, and I was like sneaking in and watching TV while my parents didn't see me. And so it was only natural that I started pursuing scoring for media, for film, for advertising. In Paris, I lucked out, and I met this guy, and I did the score for this cartoon series that became really big and sold in every country in Europe, in Asia. And I was 27, and I'm like, okay, you can make a living.
How about
this.
that?
Yeah.
That's something really interesting, because I know that our students are sort of wondering, well, how am I going to continue doing this? How am I going to be a musician and have that security as well?
Right.
And
well,
so
forget about security.
Yeah, there's no such thing necessarily in the
Yeah,
arts,
yeah.
but to find something that you can do in addition to your touring and your music that you love, that's your passion.
Absolutely.
To find another passion that will help you pay the bills.
Yes, and at the same time stay within your field.
And stay within your field.
Yeah. So that was great, and then through this cartoon, I became the house composer for Walt Disney in France Animation Studios, because the people that directed the cartoon became the presidents of animation, Walt Disney Animation in France. But unfortunately, I was still really obsessed with guitar, and the scoring thing, I was not very smart about networking at the time, where I was very visible, in France with this cartoon series, but I didn't take advantage of it. So that's a lesson also for people out there, is when you have some sort of success, really network. Don't let that go and just say, no, only my art, matters. No, your art matters, but your connections matter very much if you want to, keep going in the long run. But anyway, to make a long story short, I also played with top 40 artists in France, but I was not happy with the musical style of the French music.
Right.
So eventually I decided I would go back to the States. Some of my friends that I knew from my school days were big stars in the States now.
Okay.
And so we were talking about projects, and one of them was Will Calhoun.
Oh.
He was with Living Color, and we had talked about doing something. So I left France, and I got back to the States, first to Montreal for like a summer, and then back to the States to pursue it. And okay, I'll go even faster now. So what happened is that one year down the road, I'm really doing what I want. It's great. I'm playing with Will. I'm playing with Richard Bona in another trio. I have like a lot of projects that are really fantastic.
Yeah.
But I got like a chronic carpal tunnel problem. So that
Just
shut
one of
my...
the worst things that can happen to a guitar player. Is
Yeah.
to have
Or
such
you
an
know,
injury.
if you're a singer and your vocal cords
exactly.
go, or if you're a writer and no, I don't know, you go mental, whatever it is, but all of a sudden, what you were living for is over. So I had just to. It took me 7 years to accept that fact. I would stop playing for 6 months and practice again, get back to it, but then got hurt again. So eventually, I totally quit. And I got a regular day job for like 6 years. But after 6 years, I couldn't take it anymore. And I said, I've got to go back. And what I did is just I started doing advertising, doing music for advertising. And that worked out really nicely. to again, from there I met people, I started doing documentaries.
Right.
And that's been a big part of my life. We're finishing a series that has been 8 years in the making, that is on 6 ABC, that is called Philadelphia, the Great Experiment.
Well, please watch it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's it's a very interesting history of Philly for 400 years, and I'm in charge of the score. I write all the music, which is got me into orchestral music, period music. So I've been doing that a lot. But 2 years ago, I decided that that was not enough, and I really needed to get back to my guitar.
Yeah.
So despite my carpal tunnel, which is not bothering me as much because I'm not playing as much. I used to play 6 or 7 hours a day, and now I only play when I need to and practice lightly. But I'm back doing it, and things are doing well. I'm getting back. I have a project with Well Calhoun again, and this bass player from Africa, Francis Mbappe, and we're going to be recording and touring. We have some tour dates going on very soon in the Caribbean again, and so I'm doing the scoring and I'm doing the performing. And I can very quickly talk about this. This
Absolutely.
is a solo act, so I'm playing by myself.
You're doing all of these instruments by yourself.
Yeah, I'm looping, I'm recording myself on the spot, I'm creating loops with that. I also pre-recorded music that I produced myself, so there's no loops that are in the can made by Apple or whatever. It's all my material and my recordings. But it's a way for me to perform and not depend on anybody. Not all venues can accommodate a drummer and a bass player, and sometimes they're busy, and I want to be able to be self-sufficient.
That's very smart.
Well,
if you can do it, I mean, I would be able to do it.
Well, in theater, you probably can do one
I can play more than
act.
one role, I guess,
You could
in
do
a play.
a monologue for
but
sure.
I wouldn't necessarily be able to do that.
But so it's a fun thing. Of course, it's not as interactive as having other musicians, but the electronic gives you a little bit of something back, and there's always spontaneity anyway, which is very important in my art form, is improvisation and spontaneity. So in a nutshell, that's it. And what I'm doing, progressive world fusion, is really the sum of all of my experiences. So it's the rock thing that I did, the fusion, it's the Caribbean, Africa, and everything else, and film music and ambient. It's everything else that I am as a, my 40 years of music that come through naturally. So that's what, progressive world fusion is for me.
Here because it gives us an opportunity to see someone who's had such an established career both in the music world and also in media, and is able to do so many different things.
No, thank you so much.
Taught for a while as well, and we're just really happy to have you here, Patrick.
Thank you.
So thank you so much.